Well, hey, thanks for joining me for another episode of the Full Frontal Living podcast. And I have made a commitment in 2024 to go back to the way I podcast in the beginning, which is I would have an inspiration hit me, I would hit record and just put it out into the world. And as my business has grown and my message has gotten clearer, and my team has challenged me on different things, we've also started recording video. So you might be watching this on YouTube and we use these clips for social media and yada, yada, yada. But what I have found is because of this recording on video and because of the multitude of things that have been going on in my life over the past year, that I haven't been hitting record and just going. It's almost like I've been putting too much thought into what I want to say, how I want to say it. And then, like many of you, if I'm going to be on video, I should probably put some effort in. And I just have to let that go. So, I've talked in previous episodes about how, we all have this massive range and, we get to work the whole range. So sometimes I'm going to be glammed up and proper makeup done and hair and all that kind of stuff. And other times I'm going to be a little bit more cash. Today is a working behind the scenes day for me. So there was no need to really get put together. So here I am. And I really want to challenge you to be curious about how often maybe you're not showing up in your life, your business, your relationships the way you want to, because you are working from these paradigms of I need to look a certain way. So even I get the stories of, oh my God, I'm coaching, CEOs and high-level professionals and super successful people. I should look a certain way. But part of the reason why my people come to me is because they're looking to not be so much in this box. They want to learn how to relax. They want to be at more peace with themselves. They want to just feel like they can live their life instead of living by all these rules. They want to be able to intentionally create what they want. So, in the spirit of that, I've said, Lisa, just plug in the mic, hit record, and let's go. The episodes may be long, they may be short, because again, I've even found myself getting caught in this trap of like, well, they should be this long and I should have this to say and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know when this happened. And I'm sharing this with you because for all of us, we have these ways of being that we think that we have like, you know, put on the shelf or put on the back burner or gotten rid of altogether. And then they slowly start to seep in again in really subtle ways. And you may not even notice until you notice. So when I was reviewing my 2023 and 2024 and what felt easy and what felt hard and what was working and what wasn't, I kept bumping up against this video piece. And I have been doing this for a very long time. I have done a tremendous amount of inner work on being visible. And I knew it had nothing to do with the video. I knew it had nothing to do with being on video. I have no problem being on video. So then I just had to dig a little bit deeper, like, well, what specifically is it about? And that voice of like, well, if you're going to be on video, and if it's going to be on YouTube, and these are the people you're talking to, you probably should look a certain way. You should probably, clean yourself up a little bit. And I just had to make the decision that no, like that's not what my brand is about. Full Frontal Living is about letting go of all the bullshit so that you can actually be who you are. Be who you are. So yeah, you can get dressed up and be glammed up. And sometimes that's how I'll be on video. And everybody has permission to be the opposite as well. Whatever feels good for you. Okay. 2024 is the year of surrender and letting go, as well as being bold and courageous. And I invite you into the same. So this episode is actually about a question that you're probably asking yourself that you may want to stop, because this very question is most likely keeping you stuck and unable to take action. So this episode goes out to all of my people who have been in self-development land for a lot of years. I know that you are committed to your personal growth and development. I know you read the books. I know you take the courses. I know you know the things. And often knowing the things, it's a little bit of the dark side of self-development, because then you can take out the whip and say, well, I should know better. But the biggest question that I believe keeps people trapped is why? Why am I still doing this? Why is this happening? Why can't I change this? What is causing this? And when you are constantly asking yourself why questions, it actually puts you in the place of the past. You're searching, you're digging into the archives. Like, well, did something happen in my childhood? Did somebody say to me something to me sometime? Like, what is it? And sometimes you'll discover the answer. Sometimes you will be like, oh, that's why. And I have many examples in my life that I was able to discover the why, which is awesome. But the truth is, you don't need to know why in order to move forward. So the question to ask yourself is, how is that? Why am I like this? Why did this happen? Why can't I figure this out? Those type of questions. What is the biggest benefit you get out of having that question if you're really truthful? Now, you're probably listening and you're like, there's no benefit, Lisa. It keeps me stuck, blah, blah, blah. Exactly. That is my point. It keeps you stuck. And often we put ourselves in questions that we can't find an answer to, because then we don't have to take responsibility for moving forward, for doing the thing. So in my own life, a great example of this is where I started with. Once upon a time, I had this real fear of visibility. Like, being on camera was absolutely horrifying to me. I had to hire a coach and the whole 9 yards because I was adamant that I was going to work through it. But I had no clue why I was afraid of being visible. Not a clue. All I knew is that I had to get more comfortable with being visible if I wanted to grow my business. At this time, Periscope was coming out. Facebook had started to launch their Facebook Live not that long afterwards. And video was becoming a bigger and bigger thing. And I knew that if I wanted to connect with my audience and I wanted my business to grow, I was going to have to get used to being on video. So, at the time, I was really self-critical. And you see how that little thread has snuck back in again. I didn't know why I was self-critical. And if I'd spent months and months and months trying to figure out, well, why am I so critical of myself? Why am I so afraid of video? Why can't I just go do the video? Because at the time I couldn't just hit shoot and go. I would still be in that place. So what I want you to be curious about or challenge yourself with is, how often in your life have you been able to take action even when you didn't know why? Has there been a time in your life where you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm going to go do this thing. My intuition is calling me here. Or you didn't have the answer to something and you're like, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to do the thing. When it comes to personal growth and development, what I want you to know is you may or may not find out why you are the way you are. It matters very little, because what's more important is that you look at who you are today, who you want to become, where are you going, what is the outcome you want to create, and how do we shift those beliefs and behaviors that are keeping you anchored in circumstances that you don't want. So you don't need to know why you are the way you are. You just need to make a decision about who you want to become. That is where the work is. It's forward facing. And when you're stuck in the why, you are back in the past. You're like digging back in the archives in stuff that doesn't matter. And, one of my powerful spiritual mentors said to me, because I was asking about something that I wanted to be able to do, I really struggle with. And he looked at me and he said, Lisa, something happened to you in your past, and you don't need to know why. You just need to know something happened. And that's probably what's causing this. And this is what you need to look at to move forward. So if you are finding yourself constantly asking yourself why, I would love for you to consider some different questions. Like, what needs to happen for me today in order for me to take action? What am I willing to be committed to today? What is it that you want? Ask yourself, what do I want? And does this asking why I am the way I am, is that going to support me achieving what I want, getting what I want, creating the transformation that I want? and start to let the why go, and notice that anytime you are in a why question, you are actively putting yourself in a pattern of sabotage. So many of us use the why question so that we don't have to take action. And that's the benefit. You get to keep doing the same thing, not taking any action towards where you're going or where you want to go, because you can't do it until you have the answer as to why. So notice it for what it is. It's a pattern. Also, what I want you to understand around why, as a coach, it's very rare for me to ask a why question of my clients, because as soon as I ask a why question, the person receiving that question is going to take it as like, it almost becomes like defensive. Have you ever had somebody ask you, well, why are you doing that? Or, just that's the example, right? Why are you doing that? And it's automatically almost like a defensive response. Like you have to defend your stance. So as a coach, I never want to ask why, because I never want to put my clients in a defensive state. I want them to lean into the question. I want them to be curious. And why, when we're constantly asking why, it takes us out of that space of curiosity. So I might ask them, what causes you to think that? Or help me understand that a little more. Those are better questions that I can ask. It also comes like why questions. So that defensiveness is often because people believe they're being judged, right? If you're asking me a why question, are you judging me on my choice? I mean, how many of you have been asked a why question? Go back in time to your parents, right? And I can just feel it in my body, like, oh, they're judging me. Or if somebody else has asked me a why question, they're judging me. So if you are constantly asking yourself why questions, how often are you in a place of self-judgment? And that means that unless you have the answer to that why question, you're never going to allow yourself to be free of your own self-judgment. And the transformation that you want to create for yourself in the future, you can't get there through self-abuse. And I look at judgment of self as self-abusive. I mean, if you were in a relationship with somebody who's constantly judging you 24/7, would you not consider that to be abusive? Yet how often are you tolerating that in yourself? So, this episode, I wanted it to just be kind of quick and dirty, just a powerful episode to help you release this question, to help you understand kind of the context behind it, because it's really not about the question you're asking yourself. It's about what that question represents for you, the energy it's holding, and the pattern that it's keeping you locked in. So we can tell ourselves all the time, it's just a question. But this is a big part of my coaching. A lot of what I do is I listen to what people are saying, but I hear underneath what they're saying, and I coach to that. So I don't coach to this up here, I coach underneath. And that's really what makes me such a powerful coach. And this is why I create such radical transformations in my clients, because I just see like a laser right past their bullshit and into what's really going on. So I will never allow my clients to swirl around in the why question. And I also know that most of my ideal clients spend a lot of time there. It's like their favorite overthinking tool to use, and it's actually coming at their detriment. And what's worse is so many women and men stay in that place of asking why. They don't take action and they don't get the support that they need. And then they come into coaching with me and we clear it in an instant, and we get them moving forward in the direction that they want to go so that they can create the outcomes that they want. Because my job is to not tolerate you or allow you to stay in this kind of stuck energy. That's not helping you. And you've probably been there for months or years before you even reached out to me, because you're working under the premise of, I should, air quote, know better because I've been doing this self-help work for so long. So I'm just going to end with this. I have been in the personal development now for all of my career. So we're looking at like 20 plus years now, and really deep in my own personal development for, well, a really long time. And I can still get my ass handed to me on a regular basis. So even with all my tools, even with all my layers of coaching expertise, I still get into my own stuff too. Not as much, not as often. And what I'm most proud about is I can usually weave my way out faster, but I also make sure that I'm supported by people all the time. I don't try and go it alone, but I share this with you because if I'm not telling myself I should know better, what makes it okay for you to tell yourself you should know better? Because I guarantee you, I probably have years of experience on you and way more tools in my toolbox than you do, unless you have spent as many hours in this chair in front of as many people as I have coaching. So if I'm not getting into that garbage, what would cause you to get into that garbage? So we always get a benefit out of everything we do in our life, even the things that we think don't serve us. And why would I do this to myself? There's still a benefit. If there wasn't, you wouldn't do it. But it takes radical honesty to look at yourself and say, holy crap, I'm doing this because then I don't have to do X, Y, Z. Or I'm doing this because, excuse me, this feels more familiar. And over there, if I move myself out of this, I don't know what's over there. That feels uncomfortable. So we typically love to marinate in our familiar suffering. And my job is to move you out of that. All right. So this was a really tiny but mighty and powerful episode. I hope you enjoy it. Definitely leave me a comment below if you're watching this on YouTube. If you are listening to on your podcast platform, oh my God, I got a frog in my throat here. Interesting. Please leave a rating and review. We're really looking to bump up the number of ratings and reviews that we get this year. The podcast has been doing amazing, and we want to launch it into space this year. And by all means, if you really enjoyed the episode as well, share it over on Instagram or on Facebook. Make sure you tag me. I'd love to give you a high five. I love interacting with my community. I'm easily accessible. So I just had somebody today drop in about one of my episodes, and we had a lovely conversation back and forth. So don't hesitate to do that. If you are interested in working with me in 2024, we've got a couple new offers coming out. I will pop them in the show notes for you to take a look at. We've got our 12-month membership called Reclamation. Amazing. I'm really, really excited about this program, and it's at a price point that so many more of you are going to have access to, but it's still an intimate group. And then we have the collective, which is one-to-one coaching with a group element as well. So you get the best of both worlds. You get community and one-to-one support with me. This is high-level support. We have monthly workshops that are happening. We've got a retreat running. So all the things to meet everybody's need. However, it's up to you to take the first step and decide how you want to be supported this year. And it starts with you deciding that you're ready to be supported, period. And you're allowed to give that to yourself. So thank you for tuning in. I hope this episode was helpful. And I will catch you on the next episode of the Full Frontal Living podcast.